everybody, my name is Amy Aiello and I'm the new nutritionist here in the diabetes program. And today I'm going to show you guys how to make one of my favorite dishes, which is a kale salad with roasted sweet potatoes. So first I just want to show you how you prep your garlic. Really easy. You're just going to take your clove and I just do a nice little smash with the knife so that you loosen the peel. And then you're just gonna go ahead and pop it right off a lot easier. So sometimes some pieces get a little bit trickier than others and you can just smash it one more time if you want to. And I always keep a little bowl next to me for all of my composting of veggie scraps. And actually, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do with the veggie scraps as well later. First thing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna roast our sweet potato. So I have the oven at 375, and depending on your oven's temperature, you can put it anywhere from 350 to 400, depending how hot your oven runs. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna chop this sweet potato, and you can really decide how big or small you wanna chop it, but I go and I just first cut them into rounds. And the smaller, obviously, that you cut your pieces, the faster they're gonna roast. So it depends on how much time you have, but we're just gonna go ahead and take about half of our sweet potato. And now I'm just gonna cube them up a little bit. So we're just gonna cut them into little pieces. I'm gonna go a little bit smaller today just so that we save some time. And I like to leave the peel on for extra nutrition, but if you're not a fan of the peel, it's completely okay to peel your sweet potato first. And so once you get your sweet potato cut up in pieces that are about that size, what I do is I take whatever I'm gonna use to roast the sweet potatoes. What I like to do is mix them in a bowl so that they're evenly coated with the oil. And so I like to use extra virgin olive oil, but another oil that you could use would be avocado or coconut. Avocado is nice too and tastes quite good. And then I'm gonna do just a little bit of pink Himalayan salt. And the reason I'm using a pink Himalayan salt instead of table salt is you want to use salt that still has its mineral content in it. And so the pink salt hasn't been stripped and bleached and refined of its mineral content, so you actually get the benefits of the salt. So we're just going to use about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I just go ahead and put that right in there. And then I like a little spice personally, and that also really helps with circulation. And so I'm gonna use about the same thing, about 1/4 teaspoon of these red chili flakes, maybe just a little bit more. And that will really depend on your own preference. And you can really use whatever herbs and spices you want. And I just go ahead and then mix it up a little bit. And then we're gonna take up our sweet potatoes and put them in here in a separate bowl. And then you're just gonna wanna make sure that you have those sweet potatoes evenly coated. And so I used a little extra oil, and so this is enough really for this whole sweet potato. But I just wanted to give you guys an example of what we're gonna do. All right, so while the sweet potatoes are roasting in the oven, we're gonna prep our kale. And so I'm gonna show everybody a nice, easy technique on how to prep kale. Nobody really likes this woody inside stem because it can be harder to break down and it's gonna take longer to cook. And so anytime I'm doing a raw kale salad, I like it to be more tender. And so all you're gonna do is you're gonna put your finger on each side of that woody stem and you just kind of pull down, and then you have your stem, and then you've got your kale in 2 nice sized pieces. And so we're gonna just prep all of our kale to get it going. And this is a whole bundle of kale that I'm using for this salad. And all of the stems will go into your little compost bowl for something that we're gonna do for later use. So the stems do still provide a lot of nutrition, and so I like to be able to use them in the future. Once we have all of the kale off of the stems, all we're gonna do is line it up as good as you can, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And you just start doing a nice little chop. Basically, we're just cutting the kale leaves into ribbon-sized slices. And as you can tell, my knife is not the sharpest, and when that's the case, it just takes a little bit more time, so be really mindful of that. And we're just gonna chop, chop, chop into ribbons, and then I always take it and I go and I chop a few times to make them just a little shorter. And then we're just gonna go ahead and put that in our bowl. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our dressing. And so I'm gonna take the same bowl that we used for the sweet potatoes, and we're gonna make our dressing in that bowl because we're using some of the same ingredients. So again, we're gonna take our olive oil, and I am not a measurer, I'm kind of an eyeball measurer. So this is gonna be about 1/2 of a cup of olive oil, about 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup. Then we're gonna take some Dijon mustard. We're gonna use about a teaspoon. And again, I kind of like to just go with visually, and then we're gonna taste it and see if we wanna change it at all. Then we're gonna take another little bit of our salt. And so again, it's gonna be about 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then we're gonna do the same thing with our little red chili flakes. We're just gonna use about, depending on how spicy you want it, we're gonna use about 1/4 of a teaspoon. You can go ahead and give that a nice little mix. You don't have to do it too thoroughly because we're still gonna add our garlic and our lemon juice. So we're gonna take about 1/2 of a lemon. And if you have a lemon juicer, this is gonna be easier, but if you don't, I just kinda pop out my seeds as good as you can. Any extra seeds that get put in there, it's really easy to spoon them out. But we just kind of went and took out the main seeds that you can see at first. And then I'm just gonna juice that 1/2 of a lemon right on in there. And then I have 3 cloves of garlic, and this again is gonna be up to you with how garlicky you like things. I love garlic, so I am gonna make my dressing a little bit more garlicky, so 3 cloves is gonna make a garlicky dressing. If you like more of a mild amount of garlic, I would say just use 1 clove. And then you're just gonna go ahead and mince up your garlic. And this is gonna be very personal with how small you like your garlic minced up as well. So you're just gonna go ahead, mince it up as good as you want it. I'm gonna do it just a little bit smaller than that. And then we're just gonna go ahead and put our garlic right into our dressing. And so this dressing that I'm making is a really nice cleansing dressing that's still giving you some good fats with the raw extra virgin olive oil. And the lemon juice is nice and cleansing as well. And so then you're just gonna go ahead and mix that all up really good. And I'm just gonna use a little bit more olive oil because I can tell right now that I'm gonna want just a little bit more. So I'm gonna use about another tablespoon. So right here, we're really getting to about that 1/2 cup of olive oil. So we're just gonna mix that up nice. And then we're gonna pour it all onto our kale. And while this is on our raw kale, while our sweet potatoes are cooking, it'll have a chance to kind of soften the kale leaves before we put on our hot sweet potatoes. So then once you have that, you're just gonna mix that all up nice, and you'll see we used enough olive oil to really give all of the kale a nice coating, and that is just gonna soften up the kale a little bit more. And so we're just gonna mix it up nice and good, and then we're gonna let this sit until our sweet potatoes are done roasting. So once you have your sweet potatoes all nice and roasted, which I like to roast mine until they're kind of caramelized, we're just gonna go ahead and put them right onto our kale. Just go ahead and get them right on in there. And then this is, we're just gonna go ahead and nicely mix all of this up so that the nice hot sweet potatoes will evenly soften our kale, and it just kind of gently cooks it enough to tenderize the leaves and make them easier for you to digest and break down. And it'll also curb a little of the bitterness when you tenderize it like this. So once you get that all nice and evenly spread out, we're next gonna go ahead and take some of our hemp seeds, and you can also use flax seeds or chia seeds. I love hemp seeds because they have a lot of protein. They've got all of your aminos in them, and so they're a great little source of protein and omegas. So good clean fats and a nice little protein source. We're just gonna go ahead and sprinkle these on, and this right here is 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds. You can use anywhere from like 1 to 3 tablespoons would be good. And then we're gonna take our avocado, which I've already have it nice and sliced up. So all we're gonna do here is we're gonna take our butter knife and just kind of go along the edges, and it's just gonna come and scoop right out in these pieces like this. And I personally am a big fan of avocado, so I'm gonna use the whole avocado, but you most certainly can just use half as well. So I'm just gonna put that right there, and then we're just gonna mix it up again. Just kind of evenly get our little avocado pieces in here. And then you have yourself a really delicious side dish, or this is an easy salad to also make where you just go ahead and add a nice piece of lean protein on top and you have a whole meal. So it pairs really well with chicken breasts, salmon. Sometimes I'll do like turkey meatballs and put it with them. But what's lovely about this salad is it's something that you can eat for most of the time of the year here in Humboldt County. And you can take anything from sweet potatoes to red potatoes to winter squash and carrots or beets. Roast any type of root vegetable, and it pairs really nicely with it. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this recipe.